What's good, everyone? This is Dwayne Morgan, and you are tuned in and watching Toronto Mic'd.
What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. Okay. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1790 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by retrofestive.ca, Canada's pop culture and Christmas store. Great Lakes Brewery. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Blue Sky Agency. Ask Doug Mills about how Silent delivers the space to focus, collaborate, and recharge. Nick Iones, he's the host of Building Toronto Skyline and Building Success, two podcasts you ought to listen to. Kindling, go to shopkindling.ca for free 1-hour cannabis delivery. Recyclemyelectronics.ca, committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Today, making his Toronto Mic'd debut is the Godfather of Canadian spoken word, Dwayne Morgan. Nice to meet you, Dwayne.
So happy to be here. Thank you for this opportunity.
How do you get a title like that? The Godfather of Canadian spoken word. Like, does that get bestowed upon you, or do you just decide to start calling yourself the Godfather?
I have never called myself that at any point in my life. Other people just started saying it when they were introducing me, and then it just kind of, stuck with people. And I'm just like, all right, well, let me just take that and roll with it. So I have never said that. I have never, claimed to be that, but it was just something that as people were introducing me to things and people who knew, what I've been doing over the years, they just started calling me the Godfather of Canadian spoken word, and it stuck.
Well, listen, this did happen. I just realized I was on some podcast, and I wish I could remember whose podcast it was, but I was on a podcast and they called me the Godfather of Canadian podcasting, and I loved it so much I threw it on my LinkedIn page. Like, I called myself like, the Godfather of Canadian podcasters or something. So once somebody calls you the Godfather, you run with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's official once someone else has said it. I mean, if you started it, then that's a bit different, but once someone else says it, then it's, it's legit.
I feel like Howard Stern maybe anointed himself the king of all media.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was true.
But it's better when somebody else does it. Okay,
Absolutely.
So what a pleasure it is to meet you. It's funny because I don't normally record in the evening. So right now it's like I had to put food in the oven and my wife's coming home and all this is going on. And then I was yelling at Morgan, my daughter, and you thought, because you were down here and I was getting you a Great Lakes beer, which we're going to pop in a moment, but you thought I was yelling at you because I just would call you Morgan because that's your last name. But I was yelling at my daughter, and that was a fun little moment there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So totally cool to know that her name is Morgan.
Shout out to the Morgans everywhere. Okay, let's pop our Great Lakes beer on the mic, though. So let's go. 3, 2. Okay, kind of that's beautiful. There you go. We did it in sync here. So what do you got? You got a lager there.
Yep. So a premium lager, Great Lakes Brewery.
I've got the Fighting Weight. This is the Octopus Wants to Fight Fighting Weight. Apparently it's a lower calorie version of their IPA, Octopus Wants to Fight. So that tells you how much Halloween candy I've consumed. Do you have any kids?
I do have a daughter who's 18 right now.
Okay, too old to bring you all the chocolate.
I went and I bought chocolate for myself.
Did you buy the discounted chocolate like the day after?
I didn't do that, but I bought more than what I knew I was going to need and just said, well, now there's leftover, so this must be mine. So that's how it worked.
So I have a couple of kids that are too old to go trick-or-treating, but I have a couple of kids who are like prime time trick-or-treaters, and I call it the dad tax, but I take a lot of the chocolate that they bring home. Like, I've been going at it hard. It's tough to stop once I get going at these little Halloween chocolates.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that just comes with the territory. I think, we keep them safe and we, ensure that they're out there having a good time. So it's only right that we, get a portion.
So do you mind if we take a stroll down memory lane, Dwayne?
Let's do it.
I want to go back. So Actually, before I do want to go back, I want to go back to Scarborough, and I want to talk about like the media, the influences, like how you came to be the godfather of Canadian spoken word. But are you a Blue Jays fan?
I am a Blue Jays fan, so I'm still going through it, still, in recovery from the weekend. But, it's sports, right? So anything can happen, and unfortunately, things didn't go our way.
Anything can happen, and I think anything did happen. Like that Saturday night Game 7 was just absolute bananas.
Yeah, I mean it had everything, the bench is clearing, it had all the elements, and unfortunately, we just left too many players on base. We just didn't get the runs that we needed. So
when the bases were loaded, I think 1 out, bases loaded, and Isaiah Kiner Falafa was at third base, and he was forced out at home, but it was video review, like it was like a centimeter or so. If you look back and see the leadoff he took in that situation, like, come on, buddy, like how about a 5 more centimeters leadoff, and then we're the World Series champs today.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things that, you can always look back and be like, what if this had happened? What if that had happened? There's so many, what if moments, but, in the moment of what's going on, none of us knows what that actually feels like. None of us know that thought process of actually being on the field and those kinds of things. So, I try to give them a little bit of grace. I've seen videos calling him out for that, calling him out for, sliding feet first.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing.
First, right?
Apparently it's faster to just run through the base.
Yeah, either that or just dive at the base like, Vladdy did, a couple games before. So I mean, we can always look back.
Second guessing.
Yeah, it's just too painful to look back and think about the what ifs, because none of that is going to change the what is.
In April 2025, if I had met you, Dwayne, and said, I need a prediction, how are the 2025 Blue Jays going to do? Can you remember what you might have said to me?
I never would have thought that they were going to be in the World Series. At that point, it's gotten to a point where it's just like, all right, they just keep getting close and they just keep getting kicked out. They're the wild card team and then they're out. So no clue that they would have won, had home field advantage, that they would have had the best record. Like none of those were in the cards at that point. So I was totally surprised with how the season went, and I would have been shocked and totally elated had they brought it all home.
Yeah, imagine we could go back and say, oh yeah, you're going to lose in Game 7 of the World Series at home to the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'd be like, where do I sign? That's like I think of all, and again, we're similar vintage, so that's why I'm looking forward to going back and getting into it with you, because I think we're very similar vintage. So we had the 92 Jays, 93 Jays, and we had the 2019 Raptors. All three were great teams that were able to climb the mountain. This team, I can't remember. I mean, there isn't a precedent of a team in our lifetimes that seemingly came out of nowhere and were this likable and this entertaining. So I gotta say, I'm still kind of shocked that this actually happened.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and it's you kind of see it coming, but nobody saw it coming. So it's like, everybody was able to just get on the bandwagon at the same time, because nobody knew that a bandwagon was even going to be necessary. So it was totally cool to see an experience. I mean, even 92, 93, they were so close, and then they got over the edge. But here, it was just like watching the Leafs. They would get close in the wild card and out. So, that we kind of started to expect that. Right. And now this year they completely changed that script.
So now it will change for next year. This magic thing called expectations, right?
Yeah. And that's the brutal part, because now we expect them to, to win the whole thing. And, again, it's sports. So, that some players will be here, some won't be here. We got to see what all happens.
You're a Scarborough guy.
Yes.
Take me back, like what I'm really interested in, and we're going to get into it here, is like the media in this city that shaped you. So we're on our way to you becoming a spoken word artist, and we'll talk about, When Brothers Speak, and I see you wearing the hat there, and we have a lot to get into, but like, do you mind taking me back? Like what kind of media in the city were you consuming when you're growing up in Scarborough that helped create the Dwayne Morgan I'm sitting with today?
Yeah, I mean, back in those days, it was Rap City and Extendamix on Much Music.
Okay, we've got to slow down too. Like when you bring that up, we got to get into that even more granular. So I know Master T.
Yes.
He's been over here. I love this guy, Master T.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And his brother Basil, longtime City TV camera guy.
Yep.
You know the Youngs.
Yes,
okay.
I do.
You're okay, so good. Now, who was your host of Rap City? Do you remember?
Man, I don't remember there was a young guy. I don't remember what his name was. And then I know did Michael Williams ever?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So Michael Williams, and then it moved to this a younger guy, and I know Michael Williams also did. I think it was Soul in the City. I think
yes, he did.
His other show was called. So I kind of grew up on that. That was my pulse for media that kind of looked like me. You could turn on City TV, and there was Jojo Chinto,
yes,
on there, and that was kind of what I was looking at. There wasn't a whole lot of other stuff that really represented me. The dial on the radio was able to pick up WBLK in Buffalo. So for music wise, if you wanted to hear anything kind of R&B stuff, that's what we tried to listen to. Other than that, it was like Tarzan Dan and the soft rock and all that stuff that was on the radio.
Let me throw a name at you. DJ Ron Nelson.
Legend. Absolute legend. CIUT, the stuff that he
CKLN.
did. CKLN. And the, just the stuff that he did to bring, hip hop to the forefront in Toronto is legendary. I was actually there when he got his star on the Walk of Fame. So I was able to speak at that event there and really give him his flowers for.
When was that? Do you remember? Like, how far back are we going here?
That was only a few years ago. He got his star on the Walk of Fame relatively recently, probably within the last 3 or 4 years.
In his home studio, they recorded "And Now the Legacy Begins," the Dream Warriors.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm going to drop some fun facts on you.
All right. I appreciate
yourself.
that because there's probably a lot of them that I don't know because, oftentimes you're so engulfed in what you're doing that you don't even know the stories of what everybody else is doing. Right. So that's awesome.
So that's fantastic voyage on CKLN.
Yes.
Do you remember the first time you heard, I don't know, a hip hop artist from like your own backyard?
I think it might have been Michie Me maybe was probably like, one of the first ones that I heard. And it was so cool because, she was mixing in this Jamaicanness and she was also, getting love from, people in New York and stuff. And it's like, who is this? And it was so interesting because back in those days, there was always this thing of, this all sounds Canadian and sounding Canadian meant it didn't have the production value that, you heard from the music coming from the States. So that was the beginning of our own unique kind of sound. But over time, that line blurred and now you can't even tell, the difference between any of that stuff. But, listening to the Power Move show with, DJ X and stuff like that, it's you got all of this hip hop influence and spoken word that I was doing kind of came up, as an offshoot of that hip hop.
Well, that's exactly where I'm going. So I'm curious to your origin story. But so Michie Me, who, by the way, her birthday is November 1st. So Michie Me just had a birthday a couple days ago.
Awesome.
Love that woman. And around that same time, I'm guessing, were you a Maestro fan?
Yeah. So Maestro actually went to the high school down the street from where I was at. So he was at a school called Lamoureux. I was a couple blocks up at a school called Dr. Norman Bethune. And he's a couple years older than I am, but just through all of the stuff, him and I, I've seen the whole rise of his career and stuff. So that was always really cool.
We lost him to New Brunswick.
We did, but he's back here quite often, and we try to stay in touch whenever we can.
So to review here, and I like all of these people very much. Like so, DJ Ron Nelson, Michael Williams, no Cleveland, no Bowie. Shout out to Michael Williams. Tony Young, Master T from Extendamix. Mm-hmm. So we have these television programs. Those are actually national television programs. Then you have a local radio, CKLN. What makes you, Dwayne, decide that you're going to try? Maybe even while you tell us your origin story, like doing spoken word, maybe even help us idiots understand the difference between spoken word and poetry?
All right.
I feel like I need a 101 here.
All right, I'll keep it very simple. So, most poetry is written to be read by people. Spoken word is written to be said by the person who's writing it. So it's actually written to be said out loud as opposed to written to be read. And so you get up on stage, oftentimes you have it memorized and you actually get up there and say it. So it almost becomes like hip hop without the music in a sense. So that's the biggest thing between, spoken word and someone who's just a poet. And then what was the first part of the question again?
Well, so now we know the difference between spoken word and poetry.
Yes.
So what basically made you decide to try this? Like, what is your origin story?
So it's very interesting because I'm an extreme introvert who would never have chosen to do anything on stage or in front of people. And I was organizing a talent show at my high school. And all of my friends at the time, rappers, singers, dancers, and I was invited onto Extend a Mix by Master T to speak about this show. So it was my first time on TV. Here I am, this young kid in high school. I'm putting on this talent show.
Like, are you shy?
Yeah. And here I am on national, TV with the Master T. I mean, I thought I was being punked when I got a message from him seeing if I wanted to come on. And then after that, all the tickets just started to sell. So I'm like, okay, this show's going to sell out. And now, everybody saw me on the TV and I'm like, well, how do I get into my own talent show without any talent? Because, everyone's going to be, loving all the artists, the singers, the rappers, dancers. So I'm like, okay, maybe I could try to write a poem or something so at least I could perform something in this talent show. And I wrote a poem and everybody loved it. And they're like, yo, you need to keep writing. And that was the origin story. I had never written anything before. I had no desire to be an artist. I just wrote something to be on stage with the rest of my friends and people loved it. It was the first time people told me I was good at something and I just took it and ran with it.
Okay, so you're writing. Obviously, you're writing your own prose, and then you're reading it.
Mm-hmm.
But in a moment ago, you just described it as hip hop without the music.
Yes.
So this begs the question: why not add music and be a hip hop artist?
Because when you add music, now you're constrained to the beat. So everything that you write has to fit into, whether it's 4/4 time or whatever the case may be. So all of your rhymes and your rhyme schemes now have to be more constrained, whereas if you take away the music, you can just have a conversation. You can just talk and let it flow however it chooses to come out. So even when I do a lot of live shows, I'll work with musicians because musicians can improvise and play around. It's not set to a same beat structure and that sort of thing. So it's much like improv jazz and different things where you can just go anywhere that you really want to go with it.
Okay, I have I'm assuming, because I'm going to play something in a bit just to give the listenership a taste of things, but you may have a spoken word piece where maybe in post or something they'll add music, like so like you might go the other. Tell me if I'm wrong, but so as opposed to writing for a beat, you may write something and then read something and then have a beat applied to it afterwards, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, that has happened. That happens quite rare. Usually I just write things and, if people want to record it, then we just try to figure that out. So
I'm leaving the old chronological flow here because I'm jumping a bit ahead here, but there is a piece I was listening to earlier today called The Sum of Her Parts.
Yes.
And it's got a beat to it. So is that an example where you would have a piece of spoken word art that you would read and then a beat would be applied afterwards? Like, maybe tell me the story of that, because I thought maybe while we enjoy our Great Lakes beer, we should listen to that and just let people know, hey, here's some of Dwayne's art.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different versions of that particular track. Is it the one with the woman singing on it?
Yes. It's like 4 minutes and 50 seconds. And yes.
Right. So for that one, she was creating an EP and wanted, to do something with me on that. And she really loved that poem. So we said, all right, let's do a recording of that poem. That'll be for your EP. So I recorded it and then she put some vocals around it. And there's
what's her name?
Kate Bowen. And there's a a producer, a pianist that I do a lot of work with, and he was doing the production. So then he put all the other pieces around. So the three of us kind of just sat in the studio and tried to figure out what we thought would sound best sonically.
Well, it's a beautiful piece. So
Thank you.
I'm gonna play. It's my show, Dwayne. I'm gonna play this. Okay?
All right, go
you
for
can't
it.
Stop me. But to give it a little more context here, how long ago was this recorded, approximately?
That would definitely have been at least 15 years ago that we recorded that. Yeah.
All right, so this is a chance for us to enjoy our Great Lakes and enjoy some Dwayne Morgan, the sum of her parts, and then we'll pick it up on the other side. It's going to go almost 5 minutes, so here we go.
As men, many of us tend not to see women as complete human beings. So instead we break them down into parts, using Barbie doll images to determine who and what women really are. And we've gone so far that we've made some women hate themselves. Dark skin still isn't right. There are products on store shelves to make dark skin light. For the closer it gets to white, the greater the chance that she might get a bly. And instead of fixating on her skin color, she can worry about her cup size. Because as men, we have some women staring at their chests, not satisfied with the size of their breasts, taking matters into their own hands, resorting to surgical implants, watching as their cup size grows. Young children are being born fed on hormones laced with silicone, as our misogyny condones us being anti-women because we don't love women. We just love some parts of women. But the sum of her parts is her beauty, as men continue to compartmentalize her into thick thighs and booty. Cause you know it is our duty to find the woman with the nicest ass. And to compensate for those who don't have, stores are now selling underwear with pads, while those with too much are taking fat from the back and are putting it in their lips. And we wonder why some women speak so much shit, doing just about anything to be shaped like an hourglass. Skinny girls have eating disorders, thinking that they're fat, while big girls are on diets, trying to look like that. And it would appear to me as though women have gone mad, trying to live up to these standards that we as men set, but can never pass. So she tries to pass by, introducing him to her soul. But his sole thought is that her soul is just a hole. So he loves her for her hole, and he thinks she's just a hole. He forgets about her soul and judges her by her hole. But men, we have got to love her as a whole. We've got to love her wholeheartedly. We've got to love her holistically. We've got to love she who holds the mystery to carry we to life. We've got to love her not by our standard, but by God's standard of perfection. She is deserving of love, respect, and affection as is. The gods made no mistakes when they created their kids. So we've got to recognize that every woman is a star who needs to be loved for who she is and for the sum of all her parts.
I won't keep acting like this doesn't bother me. Cause I'm loving me for me, no matter what you see. Cause this is all I am, and that's alright with me. Cause I'm alright with me. Yeah, I'm in love with me.
Dwayne, amazing. When you listen to that in the headphones right now, what are you thinking?
I'm just really proud of it. Like, I haven't heard that in such a long time. So to sit here and listen back to it, I'm like, wow, we really did a great job, with that piece, with the messaging, with, how her vocals were layered to create the ambiance behind it. So yeah, it was totally awesome. And it just reminded me that I've created so much stuff that it's like, you don't even get to appreciate a lot of it until you have these moments where you can listen to it again. Right. So it was awesome.
Well, this is your chance to reflect back on some of the great moments in the past here, because we're still going back. Like, so when were you inducted into the Scarborough Walk of Fame?
So I was inducted to the Scarborough Walk of Fame back in 2013.
Okay, well, so what was that like? Like, I mean, I've been inducted into zero, Walk of Fames or Hall of Fames. Like, what is it like?
I mean, it was pretty surreal because, when I started doing the things that I was doing and putting on these talent shows in Scarborough, because after that first one, there, in Scarborough, there's just no outlets, there was no performing places or whatever. So it's amazing how many artists have come out of Scarborough, given the fact that Scarborough had no arts, right? So I had to start, putting on these talent shows for people to get on stage. And, those people who came out back in the day know, like, the first venue I could get was a Fit for Life gym. And, we would have to the left all of these artists performing, and then to the right, there were people on treadmills and elliptical machines. And that's what we could get. And that's how we started doing these shows. So to be inducted into the Scarborough Walk of Fame for what I contributed to culture in Scarborough was a really, surreal and humbling experience for me, because I was just doing those things out of necessity, and I didn't know that anybody was watching or paying attention, or that, it had any kind of greater meaning. So, when my daughter sends me pictures of her feet by the star, or she brings her friends and is like, yo, that's my dad. It just really means that, I've done something that people recognize and notice.
Well, not just the Scarborough. This is the pump your tires portion of the Toronto Mike episode, but not just Scarborough Walk of Fame, but you've got the African Canadian Achievement Award and the Harry Jerome Award for Excellence in the Arts.
Yeah, so I mean, those ones are also really important because those are, from my community, and is really awesome to get that kind of recognition. And then the difference was that, the Scarborough Walk of Fame now was outside of my community. It was, other people have been, recognizing the work that I've done. So it just added another layer to things. And I mean, the Walk of Fame exists inside of the Scarborough Town Center shopping mall. There's so many people who go through that mall every single day, and they're just, seeing this name there that will outlive me.
Okay, and I don't want to bury the lead here, but Order of Ontario recipient.
Yes.
When did that happen?
So I actually physically got that this year. So I was appointed in 2023, but you don't officially get the ceremony unless you can be there in person, and you don't get all of the little things that they give to you. And I was traveling every time that they were doing it. So this year was the first year that I was actually able to attend and officially be appointed to the Order of Ontario, which, takes the Scarborough Walk of Fame up a notch. Because,
sure, yeah. Well, you go Scarborough, then, is there a Toronto thing? Did we skip a step?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if there's like
a mega city medal.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but yeah, it just went from Scarborough right to the province.
I know what you're gunning for, Order of Canada.
Well, I mean, that's got to be next, right? But I got some more work I have to do before.
Well, you're a
before
young man.
All that. Yeah, that's relative, but but I just I don't work for the accolades, but I loved that people recognize and people are like, oh, you should go for this, because I didn't even know that it was a thing. And people were like, no, you should throw your hat in the ring for it. And it worked out. So, that's totally cool. I have some, little fancy lapel pins and stuff to wear to
I was going to ask you, like, it's a pin, right? So similar, because Order of Canada is a pin.
Yes.
So it's a pin, but you're not wearing it for me today.
Yeah, they give you a 28-page booklet of how to wear it, when to wear it. There's so
What happens if you violate those rules?
I have
they take
no
it away?
I don't know what happens
I say
if
we
you violate
challenge those rules.
if you violate it, but it's like this big thick PDF
Wow.
that they send you of when, how, all that kind of stuff. So
That I would love you to just violate one or two of those rules and just to see if there's any teeth to these rules. You know what I mean?
yeah, I suppose. I just don't want to risk them, taking it back or anything.
I think that's the story. Dwayne Morgan, a 2-time Canadian National Poetry Slam champion, we're about to talk about that, has his Order of Ontario ripped from his, chest because, I don't know, he wore it with like a, he wore it with a hoodie or something. I don't know what the rules are.
I mean, that's something that can be explored, I suppose.
Canadian, firstly, I have so much to learn, like just even reading about your career. You're living this life, Canadian spoken word artist, but you're a 2-time Canadian National Poetry Slam champion. So when did you win this? And how many times did you compete? Like, just give us a little context. Like, what does that mean? That sounds impressive, but what do I know?
Yeah, so COVID ended it, but we used to have a national team competition where groups of 4 or 5 poets from cities right across the Canada would congregate in a different city every year and just compete based on their written work and their performance. And so I probably was in that at least 10 times. Won it twice, runner up about 5 or 6 times, and only once didn't place in the top 3. So I think that also led to, the Godfather title, because every team that I brought to the competition always was in the top 3. So, people couldn't understand, well, how does this guy do this, every single year, no matter who's on his team, somehow they make it, to the top 3. So, that was it. So it was really just a national competition where poets from across the country would come together and compete. And, we won the last one in 2019, and then COVID happened and that whole thing fell apart and has not been resuscitated.
Well, aren't you the man to bring this back?
I suppose, but I was also one of the people who originally started it way back in the day. So I'm just like, hey,
you've done your part. Time for the younger people to.
If they really want it, the younger people got to take it and do the work, because my generation, we all got together with other people across the country and said, hey, let's plan and do this thing, and then then we left it in the hands of the younger folks, and if they want it back, that's up to them to.
But if you leave it in, and I love what you're saying there. It's your turn. It reminds me of this on Frozen Pond thing I used to see, where the old guys like Mary Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky. Who else was in that group? Maybe it was Gordie Howe, but these old timers, like they were going to play a game of pond hockey, and then they said, no, it's your turn now. And then Paul Correa comes out and Eric Lindros. I'm trying to remember. Jaromir Jagr, I think. It's like this moment of like passing the torch. Mm-hmm. That's such a crazy, octopus wants to fight fueled flashback I just had of this on Frozen Pond. It brings a tear to my eye just thinking about it. But sometimes when it's like, okay, it's your turn now, it's your turn, youngsters. What if they don't do anything? Like, what if it's complete apathy and then nothing ever happens? It's like the old timers got to step in and show them how to do it again.
I mean, that's one way to look at it, or it just
it's a very negative way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it just means that it's maybe not necessary right now, because if the old timers go back in and recreate it, at some point we're not going to be here anymore, and then what happens to it? So, I mean, if you don't have the zest to do it and put your youthful energy into it, because if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it my way, and my way isn't necessarily the way that young people are moving right now, right? So there's that whole gap in age and time and vibrations and these kinds of things. So it's like I got other things to do. I've done my part with that, and now it's up to them.
Okay, so what are you more proud of, being a national poetry slam champion and the Godfather of Canadian spoken word art, or what you're doing with, and I hope I have the right handle here, but From the Roots Entertainment is up from the Roots Entertainment. My apologies, and that's helping fellow artists. So what brings you more joy? Like, writing and performing your art, or helping your fellow artists rise up?
I think more joy comes from helping other people. And I think that's what led to the Scarborough Walk of Fame. And that's what led to the Order of Ontario. Because I think for a lot of artists, we're competing for resources. We're competing for, interviews, seats on podcasts, like all of these kinds of things. And I've built a career out of who can I help? Who can I put on stage? Who can I create an opportunity for? So it's never just been about, oh, me. I'm trying to do all of these things. But everything that I do, I'm trying to bring other people with me. I'm trying to build some kind of infrastructure that other people will benefit from. So I think a big part of my story and my legacy is the number of artists that I've helped, that I've hired. There's, every January I do a singer-songwriter competition where I give away $1,000 of my own money to an up-and-coming singer. I used to do the same thing with poetry and just give away, money. So, there's so much money that I've put into the pockets of artists, either through prize money, through paying them to be on stages. And I think that's the stuff that I'm most proud of. That, I didn't just solely focus on what I wanted, but really tried to help as many other artists as possible.
Your own money, eh?
Yeah.
Now I was going to say, I'm going to give you some gifts, but it's not, I didn't buy these gifts. These gifts are coming from the people who made them. So I'm going to give you a gift in a moment. But first, right. So it sounds like, from what we've already learned, that, you're going across this wonderful country of Canada with you're doing your spoken word art, etc. But you've been all around this world, I feel like I'm going to shout out Kish here. You rhyme the world in 80 days, right? You've been around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel so blessed and lucky to have had the opportunity to do poetry, and it has taken me, across Europe and to Africa and all of these different places. And who would have seen, this coming? But I think one of the advantages for me was that, when YouTube just started, I would just post a bunch of my poems on YouTube, and people were like, hey, that's cool. Can you come do that in Munich? I'm like, sure, no problem. And, lo and behold, here I am now traveling around Europe doing these tours and stuff. And just because everybody thought that it was cool, and I tried to jump on the technology. And I think that's another thing for me, is that I've always tried to embrace the technology that's at my disposal. So I think one of the great talking points was that when Interact, that technology started, I was the first artist that people saw that had his own Interact machine. And every gig that I went to, I had this Interact machine. I'm like, hey, I got books, I got CDs. If you don't have cash, I got you. And I was making so much money just selling stuff using this Interact machine. And it was a huge machine, when they first came out and stuff. But everybody was like, this guy's not being serious. He has a cash machine. And, when they would come over to my table, I'm like, yeah, here it is. And, people would just buy it just to be able to be like, yo, I bought this book with this guy using this Interact machine. So, I've always tried to embrace the technology.
Yeah, don't fight the tech, right? Use it. Harness
Absolutely.
it. So you're on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm on. My daughter forced me to be on there. So, yeah.
Yeah, does TikTok know how old you are? I don't feel like I'm welcome there. It's funny. My daughter's calling now. I feel like I should take it. My 21-year-old daughter, who essentially told me, "You're not allowed on TikTok." Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think it's. If you're doing things that are cool, why not, right?
I'm with you.
Yeah, it's another platform to just reach some different audience.
But you said it there, Dwayne. If you're doing something cool, that's why I'm not allowed on TikTok, okay? But, I just dropped the name Kish, okay? Andrew Kishino. And he had an album. Did you own Order from Chaos? Do you remember this album? Maybe early 90s? It was a Toronto hip-hop album by Kish.
Yeah, I know Kish. I just can't remember if I fully took in that album.
So I'm chatting him up. A while ago, because he moved to California and became a voiceover actor, and the reasons will become very clear when I tell you. So I'm like, how much how much money did you make from this album? I bought the CD at HMV, okay, Order from Chaos, and I can't remember the exact figure, but it was something like $43.97, okay, right? I just the artists in this country, one of our great shames is how we rob our artists blind. Like, I mean, I don't know. You're giving away $1,000 to help out the other. I'm like, I don't know. You're doing all this Interac work. Can't Moneris or maybe the MasterCard step up and maybe cover that for you?
I mean, I suppose they could,
But they should.
or maybe even if I asked them to. But I think, it's again, I feel so lucky to be at my age, to have never had a full-time job, to be able to live off of my art.
Amazing.
And it's been 32 years of just being an artist. So I think
Wait,
when
you said 32?
Yeah.
Same number of years since the Blue Jays won a World Series?
Yep. And I think, when I take my own money and I give it away to another artist, I always feel like that's going to come back to me in some other kind of way. So, I don't sweat it that much. I think it's just really, and I've actually had, for when I used to do it with poets and give away money, I ended up finding some, angel people who were just like, oh, I want to add to that, but don't mention my name. Just take this money
that's nice.
and add it to the prize money. So, yeah, I mean, people have jumped on and chipped in that kind of way, but I think it's, for me, it's my way of giving back.
Well, I feel what you should do is you give them the $1,000 and then you whip out the Interac machine and you say, it's time for you to give me my money back. Let's buy some books, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's another way I could approach it that way as well, yes.
All right, so I'm going to cover just some of the fascinating people that you've performed for, and then I'm going to give you gifts, and then we're going to talk about we're talking on November 3rd. We have some performances coming up, one of which is November 5th. So we're talking about Wednesday.
Well, we actually changed the date, so we have a bit more time. So the
Oh.
November 5th one has moved to the 14th.
Oh,
so,
see, that's because these World Series games kept going 18 innings. You're like, I need more time to focus on my stuff. So we'll get to that.
Yes.
We'll definitely be diving into that.
No problem.
But, I mean, some of these names, Barack Obama.
yes.
So you performed for Barack Obama.
Yeah, so I have this this awesome portrait in my living room of Barack and Obama and I together. And, right before COVID happened, he was in Toronto at the Metro Convention Center for a speaking engagement. And I just I got this real cryptic, DM on Instagram. And they're like, are you available on this date? I'm like, are you going to tell me for what? And they're like, no, are you available on this date? I'm like, yeah, okay. And they're like, all right, Barack Obama's coming. We want you to do something. I'm like, why didn't you just start with that?
Right. You're bearing the lead.
Yeah. So, so that was awesome.
No, I have a dentist appointment. Oh, too bad. We're moving on. Maybe Toronto Mike will say something for Obama.
Yeah, it could have happened that way. So, yeah, so it was totally awesome. A great opportunity to meet him and to be on that stage as well. So definitely a career highlight.
All right. Was it a highlight to open for Alicia Keys? Did that happen?
That did happen. That was for a World AIDS Day concert. She was in town for the Stephen Lewis Foundation. And so I was the last artist to perform before she came out and closed things off. And it was a big, fundraiser and an awareness campaign. And it was so interesting because that was, I believe, in December 1st or 2nd, 2005. And Aubrey Graham was in the audience. Degrassi's own Aubrey Graham was in the audience. And he's like, yo, that guy, I like that dude. And the person he was with was like, oh, I know that guy. So the person he was with
because 05 is the early days for Aubrey Graham.
He's
early. Just Jimmy in a wheelchair.
Yeah, absolutely. So my friend hits me up and is like, hey, I have this guy who saw you at the Alicia Keys. He wants to know if he can have your number or whatever. I'm like, yeah, whatever, because I'm always helping, young people or whatever. So then, I get a call from him. He's like, hey, I want you to listen to some of my stuff, blah, blah, blah. I go down to the studio. I'm just like, yo, aren't you the dude from Degrassi or whatever?
Hey, you're Jimmy Brooks.
Yeah, we do some stuff. And then next thing you know, the dude blows up and now everyone knows him as Drake. So I'm just like, all right.
Were you performing for like was Noah Shabib there? 40? Was he involved?
You know what? I don't even know who else was in the studio with. I don't even remember because
that's early days.
Yeah, at that time I'm just like, all right, I'm just doing this thing with this young guy or whatever. I'm listening to some of his stuff. Who knew that this guy would end up being one of the biggest musical artists on the planet?
how close were you to getting any of your work on a Drake album? That would be a nice little. You wouldn't have a problem coughing up the $1,000.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I was pretty close. I wrote some
Does that haunt
interludes. Not really, because it's just all part of the process, right? I wrote some interludes for some tracks that he was working on for his mixtape and stuff. Those songs he never ended up putting on, but if he did put them on, maybe I would have been on there, and who knows?
But at some point, he's going to put out everything in the vault at some point.
Well, who knows? Who knows? I'm sure that stuff is recorded somewhere, right? So it's got to be on a hard drive somewhere.
Wow. Okay. Now, I got to ask you about Super Bowl 46.
Mm-hmm.
You performed at Super Bowl 46?
I did. So, what a lot of people don't know.
I'm saying it like I don't believe you, but I'm reading it in your bio.
So Super Bowl 46 was in Indianapolis, Indiana, and everyone always focuses on the big game, but there's actually 2 weeks of lead up to the Super Bowl and all sorts of different events that they have to, start generating excitement and that sort of thing. So in Indianapolis, they did an international poetry showcase for the Super Bowl, and I was invited down to represent Toronto and Canada. And so I did that.
You really are the Godfather.
Apparently I live up to the name that others have called me.
All right, so I'm going to give you some gifts because, Dwayne, you came at the right time. You're actually the first guest of Toronto Mike to get this gift I'm going to give you right off the top.
Okay.
Because there is a brand new sponsor of Toronto Mike. This is always, you know what it's like, right? Mm-hmm. This is always exciting. So there's a new sponsor of Toronto Mike, and let me read a Google review for Retro Festive just to start us off. Okay, this is a real one. I just copied this. You can see I just copied this. No phony baloney going on here, okay? I've loved this store ever since I saw them on Dragon's Den. Such cool and nostalgic decorations for our family stockings. Retrofestive.ca, this is now me talking, not that David chap who put that on Google Reviews, okay? Retrofestive.ca is Canada's pop culture and Christmas store. You can feel like a kid again in their retro emporium of pop culture toys, kitschy Christmas gifts. That's right, we're in November now, 'tis the season, and so much more. Their Oakville store is now open every day until Christmas, and they're going to be a sponsor of Toronto Mike throughout the rest of 2025. You can save 10% when you shop online using the coupon code. I was going to say promo code, but we're calling this a coupon code, FOTM. So the FOTM, that's your, I'm going to call it a promo code anyways. What's he going to do? Ty's going to come and punch me in the nose? FOTM will save you 10% at retrofestive.ca. My gift for you, Dwayne, I'm really building this up. I'm very excited. A moose mug from Christmas Vacation. That's yours, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Moose mug. Every guest, I hope so. Ty, are you listening? I want every guest throughout the rest of 2025, at least if they're in person, to get a moose mug. So you got a moose mug. So welcome aboard retrofestive.ca.
Awesome. I will put it to good use. I grew up on the Griswolds, so this is awesome.
There you go. You can pour into that moose mug fresh craft beer from Great Lakes Brewery.
Makes sense.
You're getting some fresh craft beer from Great Lakes. By the way, this is important, Dwayne. You said your daughter's like 19?
Yep.
Okay. November 29th. I don't know if this will conflict with all these events we're going to talk about. Okay, that's a Saturday. At noon, I am recording live from Palma's Kitchen in Mississauga. So I'll be there recording from noon to 3. And everybody who shows up gets a free Palma Pasta Italian meal. So it's hot and fresh. They make it there, for goodness sake. So free food from Palma Pasta. I'll bring cold, fresh beer from Great Lakes Brewery. And Retro Festive will give everybody a gift. You're invited, Dwayne. You can bring your daughter. You can bring your friends, your family. Bring them all out. I'll feed them all.
Sounds great. All right.
Come hungry, darling. Is that taken?
Good.
Can I use that one? Come hungry, darling. Okay. So thank you to Palma Pasta. I have in my freezer upstairs, Dwayne, a frozen lasagna for you from Palma Pasta.
Awesome. That sounds great.
And I have a measuring tape for you from Ridley Funeral Home. So let's recap, okay?
All right.
You got a moose mug.
Yes.
I feel like Monty Hall. You got a moose mug.
Got it.
You got fresh craft beer.
Got it.
From Great Lakes. You got a lasagna that's in my freezer right now.
Awesome.
And you got a measuring tape from Ridley Funeral Home.
Perfect.
Did you know this is like better than the Order of Ontario?
It actually is. It actually is, because that, you know, it was over in about 30 seconds, and this gift stuff has
Well, you
lasted
can't
about,
eat a pin. You know what I mean?
Well, that is true. That is true.
All right. Shout out to recyclemyelectronics.ca, because Dwayne, if you have any old electronics or old cables or old devices, don't throw that in the garbage, because those chemicals end up in our landfill. Go to recyclemyelectronics.ca. And if you or your daughter or your loved ones enjoy cannabis products, you can go to shopkindling.ca and you can order some cannabis products, and it will be delivered to you in under an hour. Like, you order it online, shopkindling.ca, and the delivery is free, and it's going to be in your hands in less than an hour, and you can track it. It's discreet. Welcome to 2025. You embrace technology.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Think about that. I think that's wild. And the delivery people go from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. So you can order anytime, but
Right.
that 1 hour thing is 9 to 11, which is pretty damn awesome. Okay. And last but not least, I just recorded an episode of Nick Ieni's. His podcast is called Building Success. And his guest today was FOTM Steve Paikin. Have you ever has Steve Paikin ever had you on his, it's no longer his show actually, but the Agenda on TVO? Did he ever get you on to talk about being the godfather of spoken word?
I have been on the Agenda with Steve Paikin.
What was that experience like for you?
I was pretty cool. You know, he was a cool guy, great conversation. And it was, I was shocked by how many people actually watch, you know, because, growing up, TVO, and then you get it to a certain age and it's just like, who watches TVO? And then you go on it and everyone's like, oh, I saw you on TVO. I'm like, who? I didn't even know. So, I know, Namageni has been doing a lot of episodes, and I knew her from, Much Music.
Of course.
So those connections are still there. So, so it was cool.
And much like yourself, Nam is an FOTM. Mm-hmm. And so Paikin is not only an FOTM, but a friend of Nick Ieni's. What does that make him? An FONA. So he's on the latest episode of Building Success with Nick Ieni. So give that a spin. Okay, tell me about, now my dates are out of date.
Yes.
Ironically enough here. But I mean, I've got kind of the details, but tell us about these performances that are happening starting in November.
All right, so we had to change some of the dates from what you have, because the venue that we're using, the gentleman who owns the venue, his mother passed away, so he had to go to Jamaica, and then now there's the hurricane and all these kind of things. So we had to alter the date. So the first show is going to happen on November 14th. So I've planned 5 shows to celebrate my 32-year anniversary. There's 3 shows, November 14, 28, and December 5th, that are called Poems in the Key of Life. And that was kind of taken from, Stevie Wonder. And what it is each night I'm working with a different pianist. And so it's a night of piano and poetry. And we're looking at how each different pianist brings out something different, in the poetry and in the performance. So every night it's going to be a different set. They're improvising and playing, different music, behind the poem. So it's interesting to work with, because they all have, different orientations to music. So to see how each show is coming together very differently is exactly what I wanted.
Did we name the venue?
It's a place called Context, which is at Lansdowne and College. It's a real small, intimate spot. It's almost like performing in a living room, so it's very, everyone is
performing in this studio here.
Absolutely. It's this kind of cozy, warm kind of, kind of vibe. And on the 21st, there's a show called Back Chat. And that is a spoken word show where I have a bunch of up-and-coming artists who are performing. And after each artist performs, they're going to do a Q&A with the audience, which is something that rarely ever happens. No one ever asks these poets, anything, and they never really get to engage with the audience. So we're just trying to, give the audience an opportunity to actually, speak and question and find out about their process and, why they do this, say that sort of thing.
Cool.
And then the biggest one is on November 22nd. It's called When Brothers Speak. That is the largest and longest running spoken word show of its kind in North America. It features all Black male performers We have people from Illinois, from New Jersey. We have the former Ontario Poet Laureate. We have the current Ontario Poet Laureate, all performing. And it's this one happens at the St. Lawrence Center for the Arts. So it's a big theater. People get all dolled up and fancy and come out for a night of awesome poetry that is not the poetry that you hear in school and not this poetry that you learn in school. It is a roller coaster ride of emotions and experiences that we invite people out to every year. And that show I've been running, I started it in 1999. I had no clue that it would still be going, and it's still going.
Still going, founded, as you said, in 1999. You're wearing the hat right now. That's When Brothers Speak 2025. So for that one, go to Ticketmaster.
Yeah, that one you have to go to Ticketmaster to get the tickets. The other shows, you could just go to my website, dwaynemorgan.ca, and just go to the events section, and you can get all the details and tickets.
And there's a Poems in the Key of Life 3, right?
Yeah, so there's part 1 is November 14th, part 2 is November 28th, and part 3 is December 5th.
Okay, very cool. So this is all happening soon. So we got the Poems in the Key of Life 1, 2, and 3. You got the back chat. When Brothers Speak 2025, that's a bigger thing. You could go to Ticketmaster for that one. For everything else, go to dwaynemorgan.ca/events. You're not even considering slowing down, are you? You're just picking up speed here.
You know what? I don't really know how to slow down. It's just not in my DNA. And I think, again, saying that, we're probably around the same age. It's like I grew up without social media. I grew up where I had to call people on the phone and tell them there's an event coming up. I had to put letters in the mail and send them to people's houses and say, there's an event coming up. Like, I only know how to hustle and how to do things. And the only way I've been able to be here for 32 years as a poet is to hustle. So, there's definitely no slowing down, but I am definitely trying to enjoy life a lot more and do a lot more leisure travel and enjoy the fruits of my labor a bit more.
A question came in for you. This chap on Blue Sky calls himself Toronto Boris. I feel like I inspired that handle. I'm just throwing that out. I'm not calling Lord Honickman. Okay. I'm not going to file a suit here, and I do have a memory of meeting Toronto Boris at Christie Pitts during a Maple Leafs baseball game. So shout out to Toronto Boris on Blue Sky. Toronto Boris wrote in and said, ask him if he's willing to give politics another go. So before you answer that big question from Toronto Boris, we need a little context. Can you maybe share with the listenership what happened in the 2018 Ontario general election as so far as it pertains to you?
Yeah, for sure. So oddly enough, I got convinced to put my name on the ballot for the 2018 election. And here I am as someone who has only ever done art. And, they were just like, hey, if you want to help more people, this is one way that you can help,
That's true.
More people with a seat at the table and whatever. And I was just like, you know what? At first I told them no, and they just kept on persisting. And then I had to ask myself why I said no. And I realized that, there are some things that you just think are for other people and it's not for you. And then I had to ask myself, well, why isn't it for me? So I was just like, you know what, let me just take a shot and see. And yeah, I had no experience. I ended up coming in second place. And it was a very interesting experience. Since then, I went, full-fledged back into, my arts practice and, working with schools and kids and all these kinds of things. So I can't rule it out as something that will never happen again. But right now, I kind of love where life is and where life is taking me and what's going on. So right now, it's definitely not a priority, but it is possibly something that I would consider again.
Never say never.
Absolutely. So definitely not closing that door and not saying never.
And it's also just worth noting that the winner of that election was the incumbent. It's difficult to defeat these incumbents.
And he has been there for a very long time, and he's still there. He's still
Raymond Cho.
Yeah, he has been in power in different forms in that riding for at least 20-something, 30 years.
And this is Scarborough North,
Yes.
and they kind of vote conservative up there.
Which is odd, considering...
Well, they vote conservative in Northern Etobicoke as well.
Yeah, given the demographics, it is odd, but I don't even know if it's necessarily them voting conservative or just kind of because this guy has just always been there. So it's like name recognition. They just know, and everyone knows if his name is on the ballot, just don't even bother because like the name recognition is there and everyone just votes for him. Right. So, yeah, it's very interesting because it wouldn't seem like the kind of demographics that would vote conservative, but yeah, it was a interesting learning experience. I encourage as many people as possible to try to put your name on the ballot and see what that's like, because you learn a lot about the process and how things work, and who gets priority for certain things. So I mean, it was definitely a great learning experience.
And you were representing the NDP.
Yes.
Was it a stringent process to like vet you? Like, how difficult was it to become the candidate for the NDP in Scarborough North?
Yeah, I mean, there was a whole process that you have to go through, and then they had to, wipe the internet of, all of like my sexy poems and all of that kind of stuff.
I was going to ask, do they listen to every single piece? Because you've got thousands of pieces, and they're not all going to be PG?
Right. So they had to go through, and then they sent me a whole thing, and they're just like, all right, can you get rid of these ones? Because these ones are probably going to be problematic, or they might be used against you, or, all these kinds of things. So, it kind of sucked because, there's parts of my work that I'm just like, well, these are parts of me, but for this process,
you're an
I had
artist.
I had to get rid of some of these things and take them off of the internet. But I mean, some of my work was definitely used against me, or people tried to use it, against me. But I stand by the things that I say and I create. So I mean, it was definitely a process because they went through Twitter. They went from my first tweet all the way back to look at everything that I'd ever said, everything that I'd ever posted, and to delete different things and to create this image, right? So again, it allows you to kind of see how this whole thing works.
I think it's fascinating. Somebody's going to go through everything and say, okay, these are problematic. So our fix here is to not to get another nominee, but like just unlist this on YouTube or something. It's like it's just remove this from the internet, and it is as if it never happened.
Yeah, I suppose, but they wanted to make sure that it wasn't there, so it couldn't be found, in any way.
No one can just do
right?
a tweet and link to your YouTube video and say, listen for his thoughts on, I don't know, you name it. I won't even speculate.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so but that alone, I would think for any interesting artist. Part of creating interesting art, as if I would know, right? But part of creating interesting art is you're going to probably have something out there that isn't particular. It's not all going to be, rosy and motherhood apple pie ish. You're going to say some things.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So, but you never say never. There may be a day where you re-enter the political arena.
Absolutely.
And maybe you're running for mayor of Toronto in 2026. Is that what I hear, Dwayne?
I'm not saying that, either. Right now, like I said, I'm just trying to, enjoy the journey of what's happening in life. I'm trying to, travel and see some things and just, enjoy this time.
Enjoy every lasagna.
That's what I'm planning on doing after this.
And I need a photo of you drinking your Great Lakes out of the Moose mug. I can't believe you're the first recipient of the Moose mug.
We can make that happen. Absolutely.
Everybody should know about DwayneMorgan.ca. That's literally where you go for all your Dwayne Morgan needs, including tickets for all of these Poems in the Key of Life performances that are coming up and the back chat. So, and you can find the link to the When Brothers Speak 2025. Everything there. What is your favorite genre of music, Dwayne Morgan?
Definitely reggae.
So do you have a favorite artist?
Probably Barris Hammond.
Okay, and he's Jamaican, right?
Yes.
Okay. I do a show for Donovan Bailey that's co-hosted by Jason Portwando, and they often will sit right where you are. They sit right here, and I sit here. And before we press record, they'll talk about reggae. It's like their favorite genre too. And that's a name I've heard them discuss.
Okay, well, yeah, Barris Hammond is a legend. And yeah, Donovan and I were together almost every Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, so his family and my family are very good family friends. So usually they have something on like Christmas Eve, and we catch up and do things. So we've talked about, possibly, doing some joint speaking engagements and stuff where like I perform as his opening act and then he does his thing or whatever. So there might be more stuff with Donovan and I at some point.
So I'm wearing shoes that are far too cool for me. They're these red shoes. You're going to see them in a minute because now that I've pointed them out, you're going to say, oh yeah, he is wearing these red shoes. About 2 weeks ago, Donovan drops off a couple of pairs of shoes. They're called Biopods. So I guess he's doing work with Biopods. And he had a couple of pairs of shoes for me, but they're both red. And I really had a moment of like, can I wear red shoes?
Yeah.
Like I had a moment. I'm wearing them.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, Donovan, for the shoes.
Awesome.
And I think it'd be totally rad if you did something with two-time gold medalist, one-time fastest man in the world, Donovan Bailey. That's funny.
Yeah,
It's a small world, right?
Absolutely. We're going to keep talking about it.
Okay, man. You will keep talking because you're a spoken word artist.
Absolutely.
So keep doing what you're doing. I really enjoyed this chat and getting to know you better, Dwayne. This was cool.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you to everyone who tunes in and listens. It's a great opportunity.
We're going to take a photo by the tree, but so I mentioned it's a 6:30 start for us. And the first thing I said to you was, damn, it's dark outside, right? The clocks just went back and it's pitch dark at 6:30. So we're going to take a very dark photo by the Toronto tree now. So you might have to use a flashlight on you. Like it's,
right.
What was that horror movie called with the flashlight?
What was that? And everybody, the Blair Witch Project. Yeah.
We might have to do a Blair Witch Project. And that brings us to the end of our 1790th show, 1790. Go to torontomike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. Much love to all who made this possible. That's Retro Festive. Welcome aboard. Ty the Christmas Guy and Retro Festive. Great Lakes Brewery. Palma Pasta. I've got the lasagna for you. Nick Ianni's. Check out that Pagan episode. Kindling. Go to shopkindling.ca. Recyclemyelectronics.ca. Blue Sky Agency. Much love to Blue Sky Agency. Write Doug. He's Doug at blueskyagency.ca for creative work environments. And Ridley Funeral Home. See you all tomorrow morning when Karen Bliss is my special guest. We'll talk with Karen tomorrow.